Hey everybody, back again, and got a video I've wanted to do for a while now, and that is share my thoughts on Bitcoin, right? I have a love-hate relationship with Bitcoin. I guess I should go back. So Bitcoin has been around about 10 years now. It's still, as far as money and currency and stuff goes, it is still very, very new. It's still in its infancy. So remember that. But Bitcoin, I remember I first heard about it back in 2012. Was that right? Like when it was still very, very new. I remember clearly me and my ex-wife at the time were on a double dinner date with a friend of ours and a couple of ours. We were walking back to the car. The girls were in front of us, and me and the husband were trailing behind. And his name was Adam. He's kind of a nerdy, techie, IT guy, right? And we were talking, and I remember he says to me, he says, so Cameron, have you heard of Bitcoin before? And yeah, he talks like this. And I was like, no, what's Bitcoin? So he tells me about this article he read on like Forbes magazine or something about Bitcoin and how it's this new internet-only currency, and it's not even real. You can't hold it in your hand. It's only digital. And it's mined from computers, and that's how it's made, and this really weird internet-only money, right? But started talking about how, it's hard to trace, and it's kind of immune to inflation, and some of the advantages of Bitcoin, and I was like, that seems kind of cool. That does seem like a good investment. They were talking about buying some, and I was like, maybe we should buy some too. So on the way home, I talked to my wife about this, and I'm like, hey, so Adam, pretty smart guy, had an idea, was talking to me about some internet-only money called Bitcoin, and you can't hold it. It's not real. It's only on the internet, but it seems like a good investment. What do you say we buy some, like $100, right? And at this time, Bitcoin was what, I don't know, 20 cents? This was like early ground floor. And it's like, hey, let's just put $100 on it and see what happens, right? No! What a stupid idea. We don't have $100 to spend. Bitcoin money? Internet money? You can't even hold it? It doesn't have any value. It's a terrible idea, right? Shot me down. Had we bought $100 worth of Bitcoin back in that time, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be a millionaire. I'd be like a half a millionaire or something. Right? I think I've calculated it. Crushing wouldn't be the last time she did that. So, missed the boat. But then did some writing for a guy in his blog a couple years later. He was in Europe. He had to send me money, and the easiest way was Bitcoin. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take some Bitcoin. So he paid me half a Bitcoin, which was like, at this time, half was like $400. So Bitcoin must have been like $800 at the time. He gave me half for this article. Man, whoever got paid $10,000 to write an article, right? So I had half a Bitcoin for a while from a writing gig years ago. I had to sell it to help pay for my electricity at the time. And so I had to get rid of that. But in the years since, and just was it last year or 2 years ago, Bitcoin skyrocketed. One Bitcoin was about $20,000. I'll take $10,000 for that writing assignment. I'll take $500,000 for that $100 investment early on. It has shot up in value. And then since then, it's pulled back. It's kind of hovered around 10 at the time. As I record today, which is why I wanted to, Bitcoin has shed $2,000 in about the last 2 or 3 days. It's one of the lowest points it's been all year. It's about just over $8,000 as I record right now. So Bitcoin is a roller coaster. It is up and it is down, and that's just cryptocurrency, baby, doing its thing. So that's my early experiences with Bitcoin. But since then, I've educated myself. I've learned about it quite a lot, and I'm a big fan, if you haven't guessed, of Bitcoin, right? So what is Bitcoin? Probably should maybe mention this first. It is internet-only money. You cannot hold it in your hand. It is only valuable to people who want it, okay? It is not controlled by any government. It's controlled, it's out in the wild. It's just this kind of computer program that that controls it all. How do you get Bitcoin? It's simple. You just buy it from people. You trade it like you would an asset. You could mine it. Bitcoin actually technically comes from computers. So the way it works, mining, how do you mine on a computer? So what Bitcoin is, there's a giant algorithm, a giant code that if you download this code, anybody can, and you hit enter, your computer tries to crunch this big equation. Okay, you're a miner at that point. However, this equation, is incredibly complex with tons of large variables. The variables are constantly changing because those variables are the day-to-day transactions of people trading Bitcoin as we speak. It's very, very kind of high-techy, right? So it's super sophisticated equation to solve. It takes a lot of computing power. It takes a lot of energy just to run these processors constantly to solve the equation. It's such a complex equation. Really, you can't do it on one computer. You need giant, huge, massive workstations. I'm talking like people will make warehouses just full of computer processors all plugged in together trying to crunch this equation. When you solve the equation spits Bitcoin into your account, and then it starts over again, but more complex at that point. So by running the equation, you kind of validate all of the transactions that go on every day, and in the process, you also generate and create Bitcoin at the same time, okay? Weird, I know, it's different, but there's some advantages to Bitcoin, right? First of all, the mining thing. Bitcoin is practically immune to inflation, right? There's a set amount. I think when Bitcoin was created almost a decade ago, the creator of it, who we really still don't know who it is, which is another weird thing. Where did this come from? Who made it? There's some guesses, and we think we know, but really don't know who has made Bitcoin. But when they created this giant program algorithm, they had it set in stone. I think there can only be 21 million Bitcoin in the world. And we're about maybe halfway to that point right now. There's probably about 10, 11 million Bitcoin in circulation. But once you get to 21 million, it shuts off and you can't ever make any more. Okay, so the supply is set in stone. That is important. Okay, Bitcoin is mostly untraceable. Think about it: the money that you have in your wallet, right? The money in your bank account. If they can trace that easily, just go and look at your bank records, or they can look at the serial numbers on a dollar bill, right? And they can kind of track where that has been and where it's been spent. So money is traceable. Bitcoin really is not, because if you go and look at these online ledgers where all the transactions are stored, you might see like the location of a transaction. Like general, this happened in like LA. This transaction happened in like Hawaii. But you don't know who sent the money, and you don't know who really received it because it's all encoded, right? Yes, that means Bitcoin is used for some nefarious things because it's untraceable money. I'm not saying that. Newsflash, a lot of money is used for nefarious things as well. So, you can dog Bitcoin for that, but the dollar bills still get used for ransom money and terrorism and all sorts of stuff. So money's money, right? Excuse me. So it is a little bit untraceable. It's very easy to send money. You just got to create an online crypto account, just like you would have a bank account, and that's where your crypto is stored. They even have Bitcoin ATMs that are popping up around the country and the world, where you just go to this ATM, you type in your Bitcoin account code, like say you need cash on hand right now, just like an ATM, and you can actually withdraw money from your crypto account if you need like a $20 bill, I don't know, go see a show or something like that. So that's happening a lot. A lot of companies are accepting Bitcoin now, an increase in acceptability, which is good for Bitcoin. The more that people use this currency and the more people that want it, the more in demand it's going to be, and that just increases Bitcoin's value, right? Man, there's so much. This really should be like 2 or 3 or 4 videos on Bitcoin, but just trying to go over the basics right now. buying Bitcoin. Whenever I talk to people about Bitcoin, the number one complaint I get is I can't afford it. Oh, how much is it? What, $8,000? I don't got $8,000 to spend. One of the cool things about Bitcoin is it's actually infinitely divisible, right? Because it's just based on the decimal system. So you can buy as much or as little Bitcoin as you want. If you wanted to buy $1 of Bitcoin, you totally can. Now that's going to be like 0.00001% of a Bitcoin. But again, it's infinitely divisible. A dollar bill, right, can only be divisible into like 100 pennies or 4 quarters. But a Bitcoin, there's no limit to how much or how little you want to buy, because again, it's all just based on decimal. So that's kind of a cool thing that it has, right? It's just based on math. If you want to pay, spend 10 cents or a quarter to go buy like a gumball with Bitcoin, like you can do that. You got to find a gum machine that's going to take 25 cents worth of Bitcoin, but that's that. What else about Bitcoin? Infinitely divisible. More and more places are taking it. The supply, right? The supply is extremely limited, which is a good thing. Think about the money that we have right now, the money in your bank account. Newsflash, hate to break it to you, okay? That money is losing value as we speak, right? Because of inflation. More and more every year, the government is printing more money, and because of that, it's devaluing those assets. So that money that's just sitting in your bank, it will be worth less in 2 years than it is worth now, okay? Unless the government just reverses its position and stops deflating our money. That also means that money had more buying power 2 years ago than it does now, okay? But because again, Bitcoin, they can mine more, but once you get to that 21 million, like that's it. And we're not going to get to that 21 million, I think, for another 100 years, I think is what I've read, just because, the equation. Now, here's another thing. I think every 4 years, Bitcoin has what's called a halving day to try and limit the inflation. As demand goes up, they want to try and limit the supply so it kind of stays even. So every 4 years, they have what's called a halving day, where you solve the equation and you get half the reward that you used to, right? So it used to be, I think you solved the equation in the early days. I think you got 50 Bitcoin into your account, and they weren't worth too much. Then in 4 years, they split it. You get 25 for solving the equation. I think right now, the next halving day will be coming up in just like a year, which is really going to cut the supply on Bitcoin, and then you see what happens to prices then. But I think the next halving day, you'll get like 12 and a half Bitcoin. So it's going to clamp down on the supply as more and more people start accepting it and using it, right? This video is going long already. So, tell you what, I got a lot more to say about Bitcoin. This is just kind of some Bitcoin 101 is what I'll call this video, right? Kind of what it is, how it kind of works, the basics. But I do want to do another video on like the future of Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is kind of game changing and why Bitcoin has value and why I think it's a good investment. I am not a professional financial advisor. I am just a Bitcoin internet hack. So that's all I will say. So don't take anything I say as gospel. Like I said, Bitcoin is a roller coaster. The value goes up and down constantly, which I'll get to in my next video, the reason why. And Bitcoin is on a down day right now. However, Bitcoin enthusiasts think that's a positive usually, because that just means that Bitcoin is on sale, just like any stock. If something is valuable but it goes down in price, could mean you could get a bargain if you jump in at the right time. So anyway, tell you what, I'll do another Bitcoin video tomorrow, kind of a part 2, going again some of the more detailed reasons why I think Bitcoin's a good asset and kind of how it works and what really makes it valuable. It is complicated, as you can see. It is very, very different, but you can't put that genie back in the bottle. It is here. It is very much, I believe, is the future of money. Dollar bill is not going away, but we're just going to have Bitcoin as another asset that people are going to want in the future. One last thing is that I do have, if you're interested, hey, I'm a Bitcoin shill. If you have been thinking about getting Bitcoin, as I record this right now, it is at a low point. It is on sale. I do have a link to a website called Coinbase. That is the Bitcoin account that I use. Coinbase is probably the biggest name, the most secure, the biggest player in the Bitcoin account world. It's like the PayPal for Bitcoin. It's kind of what it is. It's a very safe place. And if you are interested, I'll put a link here in the description. If you sign up and make an account, I believe is how it works, and use that link of mine or use the code that the link will give you, you can actually earn some extra Bitcoin if you want to make an account right now. So if you've been thinking about it and for whatever reason I persuaded you, do check it out. And like I said, click the link below, make an account. You get some extra Bitcoin. Yes, I'll get a little bit extra too, not a ton, but give you a little bit of a boost on your investment and get you into the cryptocurrency Bitcoin world, which is a good place that you want to be in. Like I said, Bitcoin is pretty game changing. It's a good asset. I stand by that. So, and a lot of people do too. A lot of people smarter than me. Okay, I gotta go. I got stuff to do. I know you do too, and I'll catch you later. Link in the description below. Bum, bum, bum.